Hello. Today I'm reviewing a Y201 OBD2 scanner. It's made by Ediag, or at least that's whose name's on the scanner. I like to call these more of a code reader. Scanner's kind of a tricky term, but right off the bat, I would recommend this to everybody. The price is pretty banging for 30 bucks or less. You can probably have a coupon with it. I might even have a coupon code with mine with the Amazon link below. I am not paid for this promotion by any means. I don't want to call it a promotion. A company contacted me. I got an Instagram, Master Tech Lou. I also have my YouTube channel. And I like doing reviews for this kind of stuff because it helps you make a decision on if it's worth buying or not for you, right? So right off the bat, I want to tell you that I would suggest this to everybody that's not a mechanic and is worried about the car and the check engine light, or if you have common check engine light problems or engine running issues or emission station testing that you have to do every yearly or a few months or whatever the case is, because you at least get a heads up as to what's happening. There's not a whole lot of reasons why you shouldn't drive a car when a check engine light comes on, unless it's flashing. If it's flashing, it means it's misfiring, it's running bad, you should pull over and shut the engine off, right? If it just sounds solid and the car runs good, it's probably a failure of a part that's not going to cause you a running issue. Usually when the check engine light comes on, it's because the emissions coming out of the tailpipe is not correct. That's basically why the check engine light comes on. It can be an O2 sensor issue. It can be a fuel issue. It can be a spark plug issue. It can be a transmission issue. Basically, the check engine light tells you that there's a failure that is causing excessive tailpipe emissions. That's why it comes on. So the reason I say non-mechanic should use this is because let's say you're 16, you just got your first car. Maybe you're someone that doesn't know about cars and you let your mechanic handle it. But every time you want to call the mechanic and say, hey, my check engine light's on, he doesn't know or she doesn't know if it's a big deal to diagnose, right? So this gives you a heads up. So you plug it in, you hit read code, it tells you the code. You can Google the code, right, and get a good description of the code. And that gives you an idea as to what's wrong with the car and if it's still safe to drive or what you can expect from it. So for under 30 bucks, you get ahead of the game. I don't like the Fix ID apps and the Car MD things where they try to tell you a dollar amount and the cost to that, because no two shops have to charge you the same and no two parts departments sell the same dollar amount for the price, and the labor's not the same anywhere, and it could be way more wrong than what the actual code is telling you. So I'm not a fan of the ones that tell you the cost of the repair or what the typical repair is, because I try to treat every case as its own. So back to the scanner thing. Very simple to use. You plug it in, the screen powers up. I'll show a little scrolling video over here. You press diagnose, it picks out your car on its own, and you press read code, you read the codes. If you want to figure out what the code means right there in the scanner, it has a bunch of information stored in it, or just go to the Google and type in the code to see what's going on with it. So I don't have a lot of reasons not to buy this thing. It says it's an enhanced diagnostic scanner. I don't know what's enhanced about it, right? So this is just me personally, because I deal with other brand scanners or factory scanners where you can read the live data. It does show you live data. It will graph. What graphing means is not only does it show you a graph, but it shows you a timeline. So as you're watching it, okay? What I would expect to see in a graph is, I'll give you a scenario. I had a Chevrolet Cavalier that I would set to cruise control, and every once in a while, the cruise control would just stop working. There was no codes, which doesn't have to be a code, and I was trying to figure out why it was just randomly cutting out. It wasn't making sense. So I turned on the graph to the brake light switch, which cancels cruise control, and I watched it. And as I drove, when I hit a bump, all of a sudden, it would go from no contact to contact, and I would see that blip in the graph, and that told me that the brake light switch was being activated. So all I had to do was adjust my brake light switch, and the cruise control worked again. So what graphing does is it helps catch the problem in the act, because sometimes things can fail due to a loose or poor connection, right? So as far as the scanner goes, I recommend it to everybody. Keep it in the car, keep it in the glove box. It's under 30 bucks. And if the check engine light ever comes on, if you're on a road trip or want to know what's going on, plug it in, read the code, call your mechanic, say, here's what I got. What can I do with it? It's a no-brainer, right? It's good peace of mind, food for thought, right? The only caveat is it only does the check engine light. So if you have a transmission issue, it's not going to read that. If you have another electrical issue like a light bulb out or windows not working, you need another scanner or diagnostic machine or a computer, whatever you want to call it, to interrogate that system and go further to the diagnosis, right? So very, very, very easy to use. There's not many functions to it. So it's basically to just see why it's on. Get a code, Google the code, find out what the code means, and then you're on your way. So at least you know. One thing I want to let everybody know that's watching this is erasing the code. It doesn't fix anything. All it does is shush it until the code comes back. Rarely do you get a code that pops off one time and doesn't happen again. If it came on one time, it's going to come on again. What happens when you erase the code is you lose all of the data that the mechanic or the technician actually uses to diagnose the code. So all you did was made it harder for them. So you can be like, hey, I had this P0170 code. This, okay, cool. Well, I checked out my scanner, there's no code. They're like, yeah, well, it was in there and I erased it. Well, that doesn't help anybody because now they can't see the freeze frame, which is a picture of to what happened at the time the code set, which helps them diagnose the issue, right? So you don't want to erase that. Also, anytime you disconnect the car battery or erase codes, it resets your readiness monitors. There are 10 monitors that the car does for emissions, which is why you go for emissions testing. And your emission station will plug in the scanner. And if all the monitors pass, you're good to go. If there's no check engine light and everything's good, they don't even bother rolling the car or checking the tailpipe emissions on certain years. If you have no readiness monitor set and they say not ready or not completed or incomplete, whichever scanner uses have different terms, you got to drive the car. All right. So for a readiness monitor to set, the car has to run in a certain parameter, whether it be from a cold start at 40 degrees to running at normal operating temperature to check for the coolant temp and whatever else, or running on a highway for it to check the catalyst efficiency or their O2 sensors. Cars have to be driven. You can't force the test to happen. You can't make it past the test. It will test it when it wants to test it. There's lots of information out there. And then again, there's also sparse information because nobody has an exact reasoning for that brand or model or make rather to tell you what makes it set. For OBD2, there should be just a generic form out there that explains why it sets. I haven't dealt with emissions testing personally myself in the last 20 years that I've been living in a town that doesn't do it. So I'm a little behind on that. We don't have to worry about it down here. But in a city like Chicago or New York or big populated areas, you do have to do emissions testing in order to get your car re-registered or have it emissions compliant or safety checks, whatever you want to call it. So you don't want to erase for no reason or disconnect the battery to clear codes. Disconnecting battery is one of the things I don't ever recommend to people because you actually cause more problems because you may not know how to do it right. So you may short the battery or pop a fuse because you're disconnecting the positive instead of the negative. There's a lot of caveats to that. But as far as this scanner, I like it. I would recommend buying it. It's good peace of mind. It's a couple bucks. It's a great Christmas gift, great birthday gift for kids that are getting into working on cars or adults or anybody getting into working on cars. And you just want to start with the engine stuff. Get it. It's not bad. When I work on cars in the shop and I know I'm going to do a job that causes the check engine light and I just want to erase it right away. Like if I do a fuel clean and it causes misfires or if I'm pulling off wires to check a misfire, this powers up so fast and erases it so fast that by the time I get my other Autel or my Mercedes scanner or Dodge scanner and plug it in, by the time it boots up, by the time I pick the car, by the time I go to the code section, by the time I go to clear codes, I could have already been done out the shop, right? So it's a time saver for me to just use something simple like this. You can't ruin anything by using this. You can't change anything in the car. So they're safe to use for everybody. Plug it in, push a couple buttons, get the numbers, Google the numbers, see what the numbers mean. That'll tell you if you're safe to be on your way. So I hope this helps. There'll be a link below to the Amazon number or the Amazon page to purchase this if you're interested. There should be a coupon code even for me for a little bit of a time, if not permanent. I'm not sure. I was sent this complimentary to do the review, but that doesn't change my opinion of the thing. If I didn't like it, I would tell you, hey, it's junk, don't buy it. But I like the thing. It's pretty cool. I probably will just give this away to somebody. Probably a family member that needs it or whatnot. But I hope this helps. I would like to do a how it works kind of thing. Maybe I'll do it in the future, but it's so simple. It really is. And as I was talking, I probably showed video as to the menus and the selections and what you can see. So in this few minute video, you probably got everything you needed to make a decision if you like it or not. So hey, I hope it helps. Any questions, please comment below. That's the only way I can get better at making these videos and helping you with reviews or whatnot. It does work for every car. My thumbnail was a McLaren we have here in the shop. It works on the McLaren. It works on my Dodge. It works on my Mercedes. It works on all the cars. Generic OBD2 works on everything. It'll pick the car on its own. It'll read the VIN, and it'll read the codes for it no matter what it is. The issue that you may run into is with certain manufacturers, like say European models. The code it may give you a different description than what the code actually means. So you have to be careful. I wish I can explain further in this video what that means, but there's a manufacturer fault code, and then there's a generic fault code. So if the code was, we'll say, a fuel trim code P0170, it may tell you that it means rich or lean in this, but in the actual, say, Mercedes fault code, there can be 6 different suffixes. So it would be P0170-4 or 2 or 6, and it means rich at idle, rich at part load, rich at full load, lean at idle. It can change drastically. So don't ever take a fault code that just shows you for every model and take it verbatim. Do your homework and do your research and ask your mechanic, because the systems that we use can actually give us better fault code descriptions of what these things do. It's a very simple couple line description as to what the fault code means. So you don't want to say, oh, it means O2 sensor. I'll change the O2 sensor. Don't do that. It doesn't mean to replace anything. It's a code indicating the issue with the system, and then further diagnostics is needed. I don't like guessing at stuff. I will never tell you to guess at stuff. I do not want you to use this as a tool to guess at things. This is another tool to help you figure out what's going on, all right? So for mechanics, it's great just for a quick get in there, erase codes, delete codes, get the car out of the shop. For do-it-yourselfers, it's great to see what's going on with the car, to get more information. For those that don't work on cars, that just want to, you may be worried about getting ripped off at a shop, you can read the codes before you take it there. That way, if you take it there and they say, hey, you didn't have that code, you're like, I had the code. Or they say, oh, you got more codes. Like, well, I only found this. Maybe you can show me what codes you found. So it can definitely benefit you for a couple bucks. So again, I hope this helps. If you watch more of my videos, you'll see I ramble a lot because there's a whole lot of information to give you. I've been doing this for 20, 25 years. I don't even remember. So when things come to my brain, I want to just shout them out and tell you. I don't want to create a boring video where I ramble, but at the same time, my ramblings, they help. So my name is Lou. I appreciate your time.